one thing I've thoroughly enjoyed in the last 12 months is speaking to Anton Ferdinand on a regular basis regarding players' mental health and behaviour away from the football pitch, but also away from the training ground as well. There's been a few things that have cropped up in the last year. So Calvin Phillips, when he ended up giving the finger to a West Ham fan. So what was going through, we've seen that, but why did Calvin Phillips do that? How would it impact him? Antonio being injured. 1 minute he's a hero at West Ham and everyone wants a piece of him. Then he's injured and people forget about him until he comes back again. So how does that impact someone? Now, it's not, I realise this is nothing new or incredibly exciting or anything like that, but I feel like I've learnt from it a little bit. But I'm still guilty of not taking into consideration sometimes that footballers are human beings, and I think we do our best to. Like Craig Dawson, for example, when he wanted to leave West Ham for family reasons, the majority of West Ham fans, and I mean the large majority of West Ham fans, just went, yeah, fine, makes sense, get it, you're going for family, don't need to explain, that's enough, off you go and best of luck at Wolves. But sometimes and I'm only speaking for myself here, I still forget about the human element to a footballer because I watch them on a Thursday and a Sunday, or have been for the last few years, and I judge them based on what they do in a claret and blue shirt, and I forget about their life away from the football pitch. And to some extent, I think that's the right thing. But I am guilty of forgetting about that emotional and mental health side to it. And you get reminded, and I got reminded this week by the story by The Athletic regarding Lucas Paqueta. Now, a year ago, when the betting allegations came out and Paqueta continued to play for West Ham, I gave him a lot of credit, and that credit is still legit. I'm not retracting that, but I was really impressed with how he coped with it by what he did on the football pitch. Because of what he did while wearing the West Ham shirt with all this betting allegations going on, his move to Man City falling through, I thought, wow, that is incredible strength to turn up and play like that, as he did at the start of last season. And it wasn't just myself, Gonzo did as well, and many other people, not everybody. And that's why I'm not trying to speak for the majority of West Ham fans, I'm speaking for myself here. I was impressed. But I think I was guilty of assuming because he was doing that, he was okay. And that he was coping fine with the whole thing. And he said, I'm innocent, and he just got on with his football. And then the story in Athletic came out, and it just reminded me that actually, away from the football pitch, there was somebody really, really struggling just because he looked like he was okay. Because he was doing his tricks and he was turning up, and I was cheering his assists and his goals. But actually, he wasn't fine. And the story in The Athletic, I really like it. I love this story, actually. Obviously, not the fact that Lucas Paqueta was struggling, but the fact that the team rallied round him, the fact that a couple of players in particular stepped up to look after Lucas Paqueta. And I think this is a really good reflection of the squad, of Paqueta, of certain players. And I think this makes West Ham look really good to some extent. But also the good thing about this is it's genuine, it's real. There's no PR stunt here. The club haven't released this. Somebody has. And there's a big question as to who, I guess. I'm not that bothered, truth be told, because it's positive news. I get bothered when it's bad things that get leaked from the club. I think, hang on, who's stitching certain people up here? It's a bit throwing people under the bus. And to some extent, this should be stayed behind closed doors. And it was behind closed doors up until now. It's taken pretty much a year for it to come out. And Athletic said this week that while the news of the investigation broke in August, West Ham players held a team meeting without David Moyes and his backroom staff. Paqueta was tearful during the meeting and told his teammates he was innocent and felt he was being picked on by the FA. Good. I have no issues with the players themselves having a meeting away from Moyes and the coaching staff. I don't see it as an issue. It doesn't mean they don't want Moyes involved. I think the change room has to be separate from the manager sometimes. There has to be a gap between the two, and I think this is pivotal. And this is why you need captains to take control of that change room, to have that leadership in there away from the manager and the coaching staff, because some things need sorted by the players themselves. So I think this is good. It went on to say that Edson Alvarez was especially vocal, saying he would protect Paqueta on the pitch if anyone tried to target him. And it went on to say that when West Ham won 5-0, Paqueta run to Alvarez to hug him after opening the score and to show his appreciation. Again, love it. Leadership from Edson Alvarez. And there's been a lot of calls from West Ham fans for Alvarez to be handed the armband. Well, there is proof that you didn't know you had when you made the call. So a month ago you said Alvarez should be captain. You didn't know about this meeting where Edson Alvarez stepped up and said that he would look after Paqueta on the pitch. I like it. Togetherness. And at times last season, once we finished the game watching us get beat, there was too many games where I felt that we were lacking that leadership on the pitch. I was looking at Kurt Zouma saying, well, where is it from you? We'd get thumped on a regular basis, and not once did he face the cameras after the game. It was Thomas Souček usually. We saw leadership from Souček or Ward-Prowse. They were the two often in front of the camera. Martin Noble would do it, Declan Rice would do it, Kurt Zouma didn't. And that doesn't sit well with me. It really doesn't. I appreciate that he's French, however, he's been in England a long time now. He will be able to speak English, so it's not. I'm not having the language issue as the reason that Kurt Zouma didn't do those interviews. I'm not. Even if you're still not comfortable in English, you're the captain. Step up. And if he's incapable of delivering an interview after the game, then should he be the captain with the team as well? Anyway. Separate issue, I appreciate that, but it's leadership from Edson Alvarez, and I like it. It goes on to say that during the season, West Ham players would constantly check up on Paqueta because he was initially low on confidence. His close friend Emerson, an Italy international who was born in Brazil, was keen to arrange a night out to boost morale, but did not happen as Paqueta was said to not want the attention. Again, listen, it's sad for Paqueta, but I absolutely loved that from Emerson as well. Another player stepping up, and leadership can be in various different forms. So what Alvarez was doing is different to what Emerson is doing, but I consider both to be signs of leadership. And like I said, I think this is really good news, and it's very old news. It's coming out in June. This happened back in August. But doesn't mean I don't like it. I'm the first person to moan about something. I'm going to give flowers where they're due. That's a bit of an inside joke, by the way. But anyway, before I go any further, this video is sponsored by Manscaped. Gentlemen, right, I'm going to address the elephant in the room at the end of the video. We all know what it is, 5-1 and all that. I will address it. But prior to Scotland being humiliated, there was one Scotsman humiliated live on TV. Someone lifted up his kilt. Now, the person whose kilt was lifted up, he had not used Manscaped. He was embarrassed live on TV because he wasn't Manscaped. So if you're going to be wearing a kilt this summer, make sure you're not caught out by getting your hands on the Lawnmower 5. It is waterproof and it's the best in the business. Over 10 million men use Manscaped. There's a reason for that. 10 million people have used Manscaped. Get your hands on the Lawnmower 5 and make sure that you're looking good below. So if you have any accidents or your kilt gets lifted up unwillingly, but there's plenty of stuff on there. However, if you do get the ultimate package with the Lawnmower 5, Manscaped will chuck in a couple of freebies. You get a free gift bag as well as a free pair of boxer shorts, so you can make sure your downstairs is groomed and you're ready for flashing. No, don't do that if anyone does it on your behalf. Anyway, the team are looking after Lucas Paqueta. We're taking care of you here at Hammers Chat. You take care of your balls with the Lawnmower 5. We're going to look after you with a 20% discount plus free shipping worldwide if you use that code HammersChat20. Go to Manscaped. You can use the link in the description below, or just go to Manscaped yourself via Google. And at the checkout page, put in the code HammersChat20 and you'll receive 20% off absolutely everything, which helps you to remove 100% of pubes. Right then, let's begin talking about Lucas Paqueta once more, because we signed Luis Guilherme. I'll come back to the Paqueta thing at the end of the video, don't worry. But Luis Guilherme signed. And what I liked about it was, he's mentioned Tim Steidten, etc. I'm going to deal with that next week. But one thing he mentioned, or was mentioned, regarding his signature, was that he's spoken to the Brazilian players. So despite all this going on, this summer, Guilherme reached out to Lucas Paqueta, who encouraged him to join West Ham. He reached out to Luizao, who, if he gave a poor review of West Ham, you would understand. But his review was to encourage Guilherme to come and join West Ham. And he also contacted Emerson on Instagram as well, who also encouraged him to join West Ham. So the three Brazilians, Guilherme reached out to all three of them to basically get a footballer's opinion on the football club. Now, Emerson aside, he should... Again, without being too guilty of forgetting about life off the pitch, judging Emerson solely on what we see in the claret and blue, game time, etc., etc., you'd imagine he's not got much bad things to say about the club. He's gone in at left back, he's stayed at left back, he's won a trophy with us. You can see why he would say, yeah, come to West Ham, it's a fantastic club. Set up in London prior to the club as well with Chelsea. But with Paqueta, you'd understand if he was maybe a bit cautious. Not necessarily because of West Ham, the club, but because of the English FA. Because I've possibly been guilty of assuming Paqueta is guilty to some extent. Do I think he financially benefited? No. Do I think he was aware there was people betting on him? Possibly. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of just looking at the information that's available and coming up with my own assumption. And we all do it. You're going to form an opinion. It's a natural reaction where you're presented with data, you're presented with evidence, you form a natural opinion. The other part of my opinion is there's possibly and probably no hard evidence to throw at Lucas Paqueta, hence why it's dragged on. And I hope, as a result of that, he will be found innocent. I hope he is innocent. But I've been guilty of assuming there's some guilt attached to Lucas Paqueta here. But if he is innocent, and we're given the benefit of doubt for the next minute, I could completely understand if he said to Guilherme, don't bother coming over here. Not West Ham, England, don't come here. That FA, as the Athletic have said, he felt they were picking on him, bullied essentially. So I could understand if Paqueta warned him not to come over here. Luizao as well, again, he came over here as a youngster. He's not had any opportunity in the first team. And truth be told, I'm not going to say that David Moyes was wrong to not play Luizao. I've seen brief moments from him in the under-21s that was good, but I've also seen plenty that were perhaps not so good as well when I've tuned into under-21s. He hasn't impressed me that much. Certain players at that level look too good for that level. Luizao does some games, but other games he looks at the right level. However, his experience at West Ham perhaps might not be a pleasant one, but yet all three of them gave Guilherme a rave review and helped entice him to join West Ham over other various clubs, should they have been in for him as well. In regards to the Guilherme signing, I haven't covered it in a video because I don't have much to say. I've already said it. Because I've never seen him play prior to us signing him, still haven't seen him play, there's only so much opinion you can have, and my excitement is based around discovering Luis Guilherme, and it's also off the back of other people's opinion, such as Cal and Nathan, who we did videos with to get player profiles on Guilherme, what they think of him, what he's going to do at West Ham, how he's going to fit in under Lopetegui. Based on what they've said, that's got me a little bit excited. However, I am also expecting him to need plenty bedding in time. I'm not expecting him to be starting the first game of the season. I think it might be a Carabao Cup type thing where it usually comes quite early in the season, especially when you're not in European football. So, end of August, start of September, I think will be our first game in the Cup. Hopefully, it'll be a favourable draw and we can start Guilherme in that one and go from there. But I think the first year at the club will be to get him used to England, get him used to London, have Emerson, probably have Paqueta, maybe have Luizao as well to help him settle in, which, again, we underestimate. Anang left the club, but in the last month or two, there's been a lot of credit given to Anang for helping Kudus settle in. Again, something I was guilty of not really considering when Kudus joined us, but Anang was pivotal for helping Kudus settle into London. So Guilherme will have that support with his three compatriots, so hopefully that helps him. But the first year, get him used to London and just hopefully see him develop a little bit and get plenty of game time, get some chances. Fingers crossed he takes one, but if he doesn't, I don't think it's the end of the world. This time next year he will be 19 years old. He's still got plenty time ahead of him. This is going to be possibly controversial. I'm not saying it to be edgy, it's not in the title of the video or anything, just my honest opinion right now. I've currently got bigger hopes for George Earthy next season than Luis Guilherme, but that's based purely on I've seen George Earthy play plenty of times. I haven't seen Luis Guilherme, and I was excited for George Earthy next season prior to this signing. Fingers crossed we see plenty of both of them, and that opinion may change. But like I said, I'm excited to discover the player and how he fits in under Lopetegui, and hopefully he goes on, because like I said, this transfer could be Savio, Neymar, and ending in the middle. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm pleased with the signing in terms of a profile. I'm pleased with that. But like I said, we'll go more in depth next week because I want to discuss Stuyden's strategy and the fact that we're supposedly signing 6 more players, well 7 more, but I think Wes Foderingham is pretty much done. I think he's a West Ham player. And someone a couple of weeks ago when I did the video, someone accused me of using Wes Foderingham as clickbait. I can assure you, they basically said I'm making the rumour up and that we're not going to sign Wes Foderingham. I can assure you, if I'm going to make up a transfer rumour, right, it's not going to be Wes Foderingham, okay? It's not going to. That's not. I strongly believe there was less than 100 people clicked on that video based on the fact that we were going to sign Wes Foderingham. I don't think it created many new clicks to the channel. Just like this video won't do either. It's about Paqueta. It's, I guess, a subject that we've done plenty of times, but there's just been updated. There's been new information. Anyway, there you go. I just thought it was a really nice story. And like I said, I'm the first one to moan about something. And you've got to be fair. If you're going to give criticism where you feel criticism's due, I think you've got to give credit where credit's due as well. And big kudos, big kudos to Emerson and Edson Alvarez in particular. But also Lucas Paqueta for doing his best. Because I wasn't impressed with the last month or two of Lucas Paqueta. I wasn't impressed. And I was almost convinced it's because he wanted to move to Man City. But actually, looking back now, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself. Because it could just be that this betting investigation had taken its toll on him. Him being low on confidence back in August and throughout the season had caught up with him. Because sometimes we all do it. You put a mask on, you put your face paint on and go to work and pretend you're alright when you're not. We do it. Everyone does it. I do it. Some days I don't want to do a video, but it's my job. I have to. So sit down here, pretend I'm really positive and really happy. As soon as I finish recording, I go back into miserable mode. I don't like being miserable, but you have bad days. Everybody does. You just pretend you're alright. I think Lucas Paqueta was possibly doing that a bit too much last season based on that, and I was guilty for not taking the whole thing into consideration. And when we did the player ratings at the end of the season, I was giving him low marks, saying didn't look interested, didn't look bothered, not good enough, poor attitude. And I was angry with Paqueta because he could be and should be one of our best players, but he wasn't. And like I said, I'm almost I'm disappointed with myself now in hindsight that didn't take into consideration the fact that maybe he just wasn't okay, despite the best efforts of Edson Alvarez, Emerson and other players in that changing room. We all know what it's like when you've got a friend that's struggling. You will do your best, but sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes the situation is just too big. Anyway, quite a heavy video, isn't it? Apologies for that. That's just my honest thoughts. Right, that's that done. Let's address the elephant in the room. We got a hiding last night, didn't we? I've done a video. It's on Patreon. However, anyone can watch it. So even if you're not a patron, if you're remotely interested in my thoughts on Scotland getting pumped 5-1 by Germany, I'll put the link in the description below and you can go and watch it. The reason I've done it, I wasn't going to, but a patron messaged this morning and said, can we have a review? I'm genuinely interested. So at his request, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do it because, well, I've got a lot to bloody say, and also it keeps that patron happy, so that's the aim of the game. Right then, I'm going to shut up and disappear. I might see you on Patreon later. And there's another video going on Patreon as well today, which is behind the scenes at Hammers Chat the last week. It's a long video. I've done my best to trim it, but it's a long video. Trimming it. Speaking of trimming it, get your lawnmower. Manscaped 20. Right. Like the video. Thumbs up. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Tomorrow morning, live, 9 a.m. Live at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bevel's been on holiday. He's back, so we're live at 9 a.m. And then we're live at 7:30 tomorrow evening with the build up to the England game, plus a watch along for the England game as well if you fancy joining us. I'll catch you then.